Alright, now in this example we're given the following chart for a 4-hour clock addition, and I drew a little clock here to make sense of this, that it's very much like our regular time. Notice if it's 11 o'clock right now and 2 hours go by, it wouldn't be 13 o'clock, not talking about military time yet, it would be 1 o'clock, right? Because it's 11 a.m. and then it's noon, which is 12, and then 1 o'clock. And so it circled back in on itself. Now, if you did use military time, then it would be every 24 hours it would circle back on itself. So we're just going to think about what if we had 4 hours, how that would work. 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're asked, given this information, given this system, to find the inverse of 3. So what the heck is an inverse? Well, it's anything that cancels out a number, makes it equal 0. So in regular math, meaning the type of addition we use every day without clocks involved, if I want 7 to be added to something to give me 0, well, the inverse would just be -7. 7 is the inverse of -7, and -7 is the inverse of 7 in regular addition, and that gives 0. Now notice over here we don't have negative numbers, but we do have the fact that numbers circle back in on themselves. So if we're told to find the inverse of 3, I'm going to be looking right here, I need to see which of these numbers when added to 3 gives me 0. So we can just compare right quick. 3 clock added to 0 is just 3. 3 clock added to 1 is 0. 3 clock added to 2 is 1. And 3 clock added to 3 is 2. So it looks like the inverse of 3 must be 1, because that's the thing that when I add it in this system, I wind up with 0. And so it is. 1 is the inverse here. Let me just look at this clock right here and make sure this makes sense as well. If I start at 3 o'clock and I pass no time, I'm still at 3. If I start at 3 o'clock and I add 1 time on this clock, I would wind up at 0. So 3 plus 1 gives me 0. And notice 1 plus 3, 1, 2, 3, also gives me 0. And so if you look at this, start wherever you are and add an amount of time or a number of units here, you wind up with wherever this clock hand would go. So I was just spending some time to make sure this makes sense, and you can connect it to the regular clocks you see around you every day. But really, given this chart of numbers, the inverse is whatever number you have to add to wind up with 0. So 3 plus 1 in clock addition is 0, so 1 is the inverse of 3. And that's this example.